I'm not sure about this Zoom stuff. It's hard for a head this big to fit on a screen that small, don't you think? But I do realize there is the advantage of putting people like me on mute. Hello? Before you do, I just want you to know that, I can actually see you. You see, I know so many of you. I look up to all of you. When I was a kid, I had posters of David Bowie and the Beatles on my wall. Now it's your faces. Madeleine Albright, rock star. Your last album, Fascism for People with Poor Memories, a classic. Jim Kim, your first band, Partners in Hell, big influence on mine. Raj Shah, got your start in the Seattle grunge scene. People don't know this. You're inspirational figures to me. Being a parliamentarian is getting to be a radical and risky vocation. In my community, you get a lot of shit, but from where I stand, you get a lot of shit done. You are the guardians of liberal democracy, no less. I think I have a sense of how hard you work. I sense the compromises you have had to make, and largely they're not with your ideals, they're with the more comfortable lives you could have led. I owe you a lot. I was born into the 60s, a renaissance in art and sciences. I don't think computers would have changed the world without democracy, not just allowing students to think differently, but encouraging it. Steve Jobs will be in jail just for his lip. I'm Irish, I've got some lip, but it's not lip service when I say I owe people like you peace, marriage equality. Above all else, I owe you freedom, actual freedom of choice, freedom of thought, speech, expression, sexual freedom, spiritual freedom, freedom to worship who and whatever I want, God, music, women, myself. I have permission. You see, freedom to squander our freedom is the most compelling evidence that freedom exists, is it not? I've not quite pulled off adulthood, but in the last 20 years, I bore witness to more than 1 billion people emerging from extreme poverty. Liberal democracies and our market economies had a large hand in that, and figures inspired by it. Deng Xiaoping opens up China. Gorbachev opens up the Soviet Union. Mandela emerged from prison, not just to talk about freedom, but to live it. Gigantic figures like our good speaker, our great speaker, the lioness of the United States Congress, Nanci Pelosi, who the One Campaign and I have worked with for over 20 years. I watched you reach across the aisle to get debt cancellation for the poorest countries done, and universal access to ARVs. That's why you went to Congress. I'm grateful to you all for civil rights, human rights, even the right to be wrong. So what has happened? Why do I feel nauseous? Why do we all feel anxious? Could it be that this coincidence of crisis that we're faced with might be our undoing, the undoing of liberal democracy? We see the climate crisis becoming an emergency that we can't live with or live in. The spilling over of anger as people realize how much our collected wealth was built on the backs of black and brown people, and that we can't go forward without a reckoning with our dodgy past. Then there's COVID and the potential for mass unemployment unless we break from orthodoxy. We now know people with autoimmune disorders are especially vulnerable to COVID-19. Well, what about our political systems? Is democracy now part of the vulnerable group? It's not in good health. It was looking pretty shaky before the virus hit. In the First World War, Yeats wrote, "Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world." The radical center, where is it? Yeats was an Irish senator and a poet. I am neither. But if I can convince you to listen to this unaccountable, unelected, untrained singer for just one more moment, I have some advice for all of us on this call. If our dreams aren't big enough to fill this moment, I say we should go back to bed and dream up some better ones. Allow the opera singer some more melodrama. We need to think like it's 1945 and behave like it's 1940. In fact, we need to think like it's 1945 and act like it's 1936, and we can rewrite 1936 and not let the conditions that set the scene for fascism and authoritarianism take hold again. Austerity, mass unemployment, disenfranchisement of large parts of our populations. Public servants, we've never needed you more, because public masters are on their way, aren't they? With much simpler solutions that don't even have to be true. Orwell's Ministry of Misinformation is back, and these people are using the software we invented against us. The weaponization of our fixations. Hard software power. They're claiming the world is flat, keeping us busy fact-checking Galileo. We're navel-gazing how we can pay for the army as autocracy does a flyby. So this is no time for a family dispute. You on the left and you on the right have so much more in common with each other than the alternative that wants to replace you. The only real fight you're in is for your life. As we say in the One campaign, you only have to agree on one thing if that one thing is important enough. This is life, the life of liberal democracy. And please, can we stop the nonsense about climate? I mean, scientists are the same people who brought us the dishwasher, the X-ray, antibiotics, the MRI, the internet, yes, the A-bomb. But, the splitting of the atom might have its uses. And scientists will likely save our children from the coronavirus with a vaccine. And P.S. Bill Gates is not a Satan worshipper. The only supernatural force he worships is Warren Buffett. Innovation. Innovation brought us the best of what we have. And we need some innovation right now. Economists, we need innovative monetary policies. Engineers, carbon-free infrastructure. Not just for commerce, but for health. Ministers of health, we need systems to protect ourselves for and from the future. Not just equitable distribution of a COVID vaccine, some health care everywhere, because none of us is safe unless all of us are safe. I think we've got that now. Business. Isn't now the time to show what this beast called capitalism is capable of? If we lead it, not let it lead us. Plus, you can help answer the question, how are we going to pay for this? But there are moments in history when the patient is on the table and needs an infusion. When the stakes are survival, you find the dough. The generation that endured 2 world wars and a depression might not have invented Zoom conferencing, but they used their crisis to dream up great new goals, great new compacts. The UN, the WHO, the WTO, the whole rules-based system that so many want to tear down. We need it. Parliamentarians, if we believe in the power of the system they fought for, then we believe in the power we've entrusted to you. And you are mandated to use it to please prove once again for the doubters. Freedom is what unlocks the potential of the world. Freedom, not tyranny. You are the guardians of liberal democracy at a time that JFK referred to as the hour of maximum danger. You write history, we'll be reading it. No pressure. But maybe this time, maybe we need to do the Marshall Plan before the war. Thank you for listening.